In the new event week that just came out in GTA 5, Rockstar rewarded us with a bunch of content from the Los Santos Drug Wars DLC. Today, we're going to be talking about these street dealers, and why, in my opinion, I think it's kind of a scam. You think you'd be able to make a lot more money considering how drug empires kind of run things. Like, the producers make the least amount, and then you would sell off huge amounts of stock to the middleman, who would then sell it to the street dealers, who would then sell it to people, and then they would use the drugs. So we're pretty much cutting out the middleman here, so we think we can make a lot more profit. But there really isn't too much profit to be made. And I really hope you guys enjoy doing a lot of math while you're playing GTA 5. Because if you want to take advantage of these street dealers and actually make a tiny bit of profit, you're going to have to do a lot of math. I'm going to try my best to explain everything in the least confusing way I possibly can. But in the end, it's going to end up hurting your heads. And if you guys are going to be doing this on a daily basis, I wish you luck, because there's a lot of other ways you can make way more money in GTA 5. But anyways, let's get into this. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet and try my best not to confuse you guys. But we're going to start off with coke right here. Before I went to the dealer, my stock was sitting at $210,000 if I were to sell close, and $315,000 if I were to sell far. I then went to the dealer and sold off the cocaine for about $29,700. And then I went back to my coke lab, and then I noticed that I could only sell close for $175,000 now, which means I just lost $5,300 there, or if I were to sell far, I could only make $262,500, which means I lost $22,500 right there because I sold the coke to the street dealer instead. Same situation with the second dealer I went to. I sold the cocaine off here for a bit more money, $31,100. But then once I got back, I could only sell close for $140,000, which is a $3,900 loss, and I could sell far for $210,000, which is a $21,400 loss. And the same thing for coke for dealer number 3. I sold one piece for $28,700, and after selling, I was able to sell close for $105,000, which is a $6,300 loss, or sell far for $157,000, which is a $24,300 loss. After selling those 3 bricks of cocaine to each of those dealers, I made a total of $89,500, which sounds good until you do the calculations. If I were to just sell in full at the very start and didn't sell any coke to any of those dealers, I would have made an extra $68,500 profit. Because I sold to those dealers, I just lost that $68,000. I do also need to mention this. This event week, street dealers are paying out 1.5 times more money. So next week, they're actually going to pay out less and you'll make less money. You also need to remember this though. Each dealer will be paying more money for a specific drug because of the demand in their area. For example, the third dealer I went to sell off my meth to, I actually made a decent profit. Beforehand, if I were to sell close, I would have made $59,500. When I went to the dealer, I sold off the meth for $52,700. I then went back to the meth lab, and I could still sell off $29,750 worth of stock, which means my total profit would be right around $82,000. So because that dealer was paying a high demand bonus for meth at the time, I was able to make about an extra $30,000, which is pretty good. Like I said though, the math that goes into this, most people would normally sell far. And if I went back to that meth lab after and I decided to sell far instead of close, I would still make profit, but the profit for selling far would have only been about $8,000. So you could see there's so much math that goes into this, and honestly, for the tiny amount that we're making, it really isn't worth it. Because you have to think of it this way, right? There's 50 different locations where these dealers can spawn, and only 3 will spawn for you. So you gotta fly around or drive around and try to find these dealers. And then once you find them, you gotta take a look at the prices they're willing to pay for each of the products. And then you notice one of the products is really high. So you decide to sell off that product and not the other ones. You then have to go back to your lab and then do some math to figure out which one you would actually make more profit off of, selling close or selling far. Normally, like I said, everybody sells far because you always make more profit. But if you're adding these street dealers into the equation as well, then selling close sometimes will actually make you more money, which just messes with everybody's heads. You can also sell acid and weed to the street dealers. Now, I didn't do the weed farm because I haven't set my weed farm up in a while because I know the profits for that normally are terrible, but if you guys decide to sell weed to any of the street dealers and want to do the exact same math that I did and comment it down below, that would definitely help out the community a lot. And in terms of selling acid to the street dealers, I did it twice, and I did make a tiny profit. The first time I made $2,530 worth of profit, and the second time I made $1,930 worth of profit, which honestly is definitely not worth your time. You could probably go rob a couple 24/7s and literally make more money than that. But then again, the dealers at the time were not paying top dollar for acid, or at least I don't think they were. And by the way, I do also want to say, after I sold off everything that I had to these street dealers, I calculated the exact amount of money that I lost if I were to sell far or if I were to sell close. If I were to sell close afterwards, I lost roughly around $17,300. And if I were to sell far afterwards, I would have lost a grand total of about $50,175. Because like I said, I did actually make some decent profit off of selling off the meth and a tiny bit of profit from selling off the acid. Sadly, I didn't find any good hookups for the cocaine, but I did end up losing money in the end. Now, I can't stop you guys from doing these street dealer sell missions. It's new content in GTA Online, and I'm sure a lot of you guys just want to go and have fun with it and really don't care too much about the profits. The only reason I wanted to make this video is so you guys are knowledgeable and you know what you're getting yourself into, because you might actually lose more money than you make if you're actually selling to these street dealers. Just remember, the amount of time that you're going to be spending doing this, there's much better ways to make money in GTA Online. Every once in a while, if you run into a street dealer and see they're offering a pretty decent price for one of those products, then sell it off. But I wouldn't go out of your way to try and find them unless you're really trying to grind it out and find the best prices possible every single day, because you really just want to make as much money as you possibly can. But then again, if you really wanted to make as much money as you possibly can, you probably wouldn't be doing this. You'd be running the Kyle Perico heist, which I imagine most of you guys are going to be doing in a couple of days. And by the way, G's caches and the stash houses were also released, and those two things are actually really great. The caches are really easy to find, and you get some ammo, some snacks, and a little bit of money from it as well. And then the stash houses are super simple to break into. You open up the safe, and then boom, you're going to get supplies for one of your MC businesses, which is awesome, because normally that would cost you 75 grand, or you have to go and steal it yourself. And it's honestly just a bit of fun content. And they also did release a bunch of other stuff, like some new events, like the store robbery event is going to be pretty cool. I cannot wait to try that out. But yeah, there's a bunch of other great ways to make money in GTA 5, but in my personal opinion, I would highly recommend staying away from the street dealers, because honestly, you could mess up a little bit and end up losing a bunch of money, or you might do it right and make a small profit of about $20,000 from selling off some meth or some coke or something like that to one of the dealers, which once again isn't a ton of money. So like I said earlier, if you run into a dealer, take a look at the prices, but I wouldn't go out of your way looking for them.